Welcome, everyone, to the OH Reports coverage of the KMAC Wrestling Tournament, the Knox Morrow Athletic Conference. My name is Mike Skelton. Seated beside me is my color commentator today, Zach Zolman. Zach?
Coach, happy to be here. Excited to see a lot of good wrestling. A lot of these guys coming out for their first KMAC, a lot of veterans. Really outstanding opportunities for some of these young men to introduce themselves to the sport.
We do have some youngsters today, but we've also got a lot of returning state qualifiers. We'll get to that. First, we should explain to everyone what they're watching. I realize this is the KMAC that involves 8 schools in the conference, but you're looking at 10 schools because we have invited, again this year, every year we invite Elgin and Lucas into this tournament. Elgin and Lucas are not in the KMAC, sport in, sport out, but they have been in the wrestling tournament for a long time. It gives us 10 schools and more full brackets, more full weight classes.
Yeah, Coach, Elgin, obviously a very high competing team in this tournament. They've won it the past couple years, as we just saw in the scores there. They're second right now. Look for them to finish top 2 for a team that's, like you said, not even in the KMAC, but just has a great love for wrestling and wanted to make sure that they gave their kids every opportunity to compete.
We have a lot of respect for the Elgin wrestling team, coached by Levi Pasma. Levi Pasma is a science teacher at the school. He's done a fantastic job. If you're not familiar with the Elgin wrestling program, there's probably a good reason. They fell off the table years ago and went maybe a decade or so without any kind of a team at all. Then about 9 years ago, Levi Pasma reinvented the Elgin wrestling team, and they've grown to become the best team in the Marion County area. And that's saying a lot, because they're now beating teams like Marion Harding and Marion Pleasant. Levi's done a great job with the Elgin wrestling program.
Yeah, Coach, I think one of the big things that sets Elgin apart is the numbers. Coach Pasma does a fantastic job getting those kids in the weight room and in the wrestling room. When you have numbers and you're filling every weight class, you're going to be competitive. You're going to have kids that'll have to fight it out instead of just walking into a spot. That's the situation they have in Elgin. Those kids are grinding day in and day out, and some weeks you're not getting the same starters. But even with Elgin having depth, if something happens and a kid goes down, that's the situation they have at 215. They have a future state placer in Pasma.
That's the coach's son.
Yep, and they have depth. They're going to compete and probably still place at that weight class because you have kids grinding every day.
That's a good point, Zach. Wrestling is a unique sport in that it is an individual sport and a team sport at the same time. Today you're seeing athletes compete for that elusive league championship, but the school wants to win a league championship too. The team matters. And you mentioned numbers. Elgin is the only school here today that has entered all 14 weight classes. Northmor is in second place with sheer numbers. They've entered 12 of the 14 weight classes. So Northmor faces an uphill battle to dethrone league champion Elgin. And Elgin's won this tournament a number of years in a row. Northmor, we have not won this tournament since 2019, and I know head coach Scotty Carr very much wants to win this tournament. If he doesn't win this tournament today, it's going to sit with him a lot longer than a bad haircut.
Yeah, that 6-year gap, obviously something that you'd like to see Northmor shake off today. And it happens with pins. As you're watching a lot of these matches, for those that don't understand wrestling, a pin, they're receiving more points team-wise than they would if it was just a minor or a major decision or a tech fall.
And as the tournament goes on, we'll explain scoring more and more. But right now, we want to pat all the coaches and all the athletes on the back to simply get to Northmor here today on a brutal February weather morning. It's gray outside, it's slushy, but everybody here reportedly made it safely. Yes, we started the tournament a little late, but we're now wrestling, and we're in round 2. Let me explain the rounds. The KMAC, because of numbers, isn't using a bracket tournament. We're going round robin in all 14 weight classes. So we're going 7 different rounds today. Zach, you want to explain that a little further?
Yeah, that's something that wouldn't have been able to be possible in other years. Now the way that wrestling's ran, you can have 6 matches on one day. Before, it used to be limited to 5 a day. Now with the new system, you can have 6 matches for a one-day tournament, but 10
and you
matches.
no longer have to wait. It's 30 minutes now.
Correct.
Between matches. So even if you're an old wrestler watching this tournament through the OH report, and we deeply appreciate the OH report running the KMAC, even if you're an old wrestler, there's going to be a lot of changes from when you were in high school 10 or 20 years ago. Now, just 30 minutes between matches.
Yeah, along with that, we have differences in scoring. We have differences in
3 points for a takedown, not 2, just like in college. College implemented that a year ago, and the high schools have followed.
It's definitely made it easier for people to transition view-wise. Other changes, the 1 point of contact on the mat, that's fantastic. I know a lot of times wrestlers will see somebody go out of bounds and wonder why the match is still going. If they have 1 point of contact in, it's still live, just like college as well.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we're not only catering to a knowledgeable wrestling crowd, but we're catering to some grandmas out there that are watching their grandsons or granddaughters, and maybe they don't fully understand that boundary line. In football, if you hit that white chalk, you're out of bounds. In baseball, the white chalk is actually in play. In wrestling, it's a unique situation. You can have one wrestler completely past that boundary line, and that's a 28-foot circle on every wrestling mat. 28-foot circle, the inner circle is a 10-foot circle. That's where the official largely wants you to wrestle, but sometimes they'll get to the edge of that 28-foot circle, and you'll see one kid completely out of bounds being pinned. That's what Zach was explaining. As long as 1 point of contact with one wrestler is inside that 28-foot circle, they're going to continue to wrestle. And when you see the Olympics, it'll be the same way. So they may look out of bounds because they're past that 28-foot circle, but somebody may have a foot in bounds.
Yeah, Coach, as you just alluded to, being pinned out of bounds, another huge rule that some of the people that had wrestled or had children that wrestled before.
Back in the day.
Now you can get pinned out of bounds, so that's a big factor. We got a couple pretty good matches here as we're talking team point wise. Chris Marshall, a state runner-up last year as a junior, absolutely fantastic wrestler for Centerburg.
He was a state runner-up at 138 pounds last year. He's bumped up a weight class. Let's talk about that weight class here today. It's probably the premier weight class in this tournament.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that the finals of this with him and Cohen Becker are something we're going to address. Marshall wrestled the majority of the season at 150 this year, but making scratch today at 144, so that you would presumably assume he's going to go for sectionals, district, and state.
We're talking about Centerburg. As the conversation moves along, we'll tell you what each team brought. Again, Elgin with 14, Northmor with 12. Centerburg brought 6 athletes here today, coached by Alex Zanotti. Centerburg may only have 6 athletes, but as Zach has pointed out, some of them are very talented, including the young man out there right now that is a returning state runner-up in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, we have Gavin Lukart wrestling him from Elgin. Going into the third period with a minute 30 left, Lukart down 9-0. If Elgin gets out of this with just a major decision, that's a huge win team-wise. Obviously, you'd like to see an upset of a returning state runner-up, but to be able to be competitive in this match is huge for Elgin as well.
You're dealing with smaller schools in the KMAC, but some of these teams really have talented wrestlers. And if you think I'm kidding, let me give you some sheer numbers to support that. Northmor has 5 returning state qualifiers in their lineup. 5 returning state qualifiers. A year ago, Elgin sent 4 to the state tournament, and 2 of those are back in the lineup here again this year. So you're dealing with more than just the young man out there from Centerburg. There are a number of returning state qualifiers in this tournament here today. And towards the end, you'll see some of them butt heads. But right now, we're only in round 2 of a 7-round tournament. That sounds like it's going to take all day, but it's not, because some of the weight classes are very small in numbers. Zach, you want to explain that?
Yeah, Coach. For example, 106 only has 3 wrestlers. So because those 3 wrestlers will not wrestle every round, obviously, we'll have 2 of them wrestled in round 1, 2 of them will wrestle in round 3, and then they'll have their final match in round 7. So obviously, 3 wrestlers, you're going to all finish in the top 3, which is a big portion of why these schools that have wrestlers at the majority of weight classes, the Elgins, the Northmors, are able to rack up the points.
The numbers may be small in some of the weight classes, but the talent necessarily is not. I'll give you an example. At 126 pounds, Fredericktown, coached by Casey Hoflick. Casey Hoflick brought 8 wrestlers here today, and some of them are very talented. He's got a 126-pounder named Trent Rook that's a returning state qualifier. And there's only 4 kids in that weight class, Zach, but one of them is the assistant coach's son from Elgin.
Cooper Schlegel.
Yeah, Cooper Schlegel. Cooper Schlegel, his dad is Chris Schlegel. I think Chris was a returning state champion, or was once a state champion when he was in high school. But the bottom line is, out of 4 wrestlers, I guarantee that Schlegel kid, as a freshman in high school from Elgin, he's going to state this year. There are just some smaller numbers, so it really, despite the fact we're going 7 rounds, is not going to take all day. I think we'll be done by 3, maybe because we got a late start due to Mother Nature, maybe 4.
Yeah, Coach, Schlegel and Rook, they will meet up in round 7, which would be considered the finals, with Rook being the 1 seed and Schlegel being the 2 seed. That match, had we not had the finals that we're going to have at 44, would probably be the highlight match of the tournament.
Well, again, with Lucas and Elgin here, with the normal 8 schools in the KMAC, you'd think we'll have some larger weight classes, and we do. We've got weight classes with 6, 7 kids, but also some of the more smaller weight classes we've already mentioned. But at 175, I only see 4 wrestlers. At 190, I only see 4 wrestlers. At 215, there's only 6. Now, interestingly, at 190, East Knox only entered 1 kid in this tournament. One wrestler East Knox entered. However, his name is Blake Elliott, and if you followed football, you know that Blake Elliott is a stallion. He's a horse, he's a winner, and in fact, he's a 3-time state qualifier. So again, I tell you, the numbers might not be big for some of these smaller schools, but man, they've brought some talented wrestlers.
Yeah, Coach, if you're only going to enter 1 wrestler, Elliott's a pretty good one to score some team points for you. You'd like to see him get more matches, but he's absolute athlete, multiple sport athlete. He's gonna do great things this year in Columbus.
Right down the road is Mount Gilead, coached by Rock Castricone. I think very highly of Rock. His son is a freshman in high school, and like the Schlegel boy, I think very highly of him. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him go to state. He is the premier 106-pounder in this tournament. Mount Gilead brought just 5 wrestlers. Cardington, a little south of Mount Gilead, coached by Michael Ongalabang. Michael's doing a nice job down there. He brought 10 wrestlers. He's building that program back up the way a program needs to be built from the grade school on up. I'm a big believer in grade school and junior high wrestling.
Yeah, Coach, if you don't have a strong grade school program, it's hard to grow the program in general. You want these kids to not come in at the junior high level trying to learn how to wrestle. If they have a good base, a good fundamental understanding of it, then you can work on teaching them hips prime example over on mat 2, we have a wrestler that's Ryan Parsons. He's stuck with it. He works hard in the wrestling room, and he's really coming alive. His hips, a lot of times you'll hear us talking about a wrestler's hips, getting in good position, not getting out of position. It's just starting to set in for a wrestler like Ryan. As these young wrestlers, it's not very often that you see a freshman like Pasma at 106 or Schlegel at 126 come in as a freshman and just be able to compete at a high level against these juniors and seniors. So the more mat time you get a wrestler, the better off they're going to be. That starts with a strong biddy program.
Frequently when you see, too, a really talented freshman like Schlegel or the Castor Cone kid, it's because they're a generational wrestler. They've had a dad, an older brother, someone who's taught them how to wrestle. And that's where Northmor is really, really a different program than Elgin. Elgin, as I said earlier, I really think highly of what Levi Pasma has done. He's only in his 9th year rebuilding this program. They had wrestling, that's the head coach of Elgin, Levi Pasma. They had wrestling a number of years ago. It fell apart. They probably went a decade with no wrestling at all. And then about 9 years ago, he brought it back. And 2 years ago, they sent their very first state qualifiers to Columbus. Now, I want you to think about that. Last year, they sent 4, so they've had 6. Northmore's got well over 100 state qualifiers. Many of them are the product of older brothers or fathers. You just mentioned the Parsons boy out there. Wasn't his father a wrestler for Northmor?
He was. As we address these mats, it'll be mat 1, we're going to call the gray mat. That's the big screen you have up now. On mat 2, as you see Ryan Parsons wrestling, there's
dad over in the corner, Joe.
So this is definitely a family event. We have the Becker family at Northmor is a huge wrestling family. 3 brothers that were multiple time state placers, all 3 of them.
Let's not forget the Amons family.
The Amons family with Dylan, I believe now wrestling at Otterbein.
Captain at Otterbein.
A captain at Otterbein. We got the Baldridges, James Baldridge Sr. being one of Northmore's first state qualifiers, but his younger sons, Jamie and Brian. There's
Parsons with a win out there. Dad's pretty happy over in the corner. But again, that's what Coach Pasma is building at Elgin right now, is that generational aspect. And once you get that, your program really becomes stronger year after year after year. I mean, like I said, Northmore's got 5 returning state qualifiers in the lineup. And a couple of these kids come from wrestling families. You mentioned the Amons boy. We love him. Ethan Amons is a junior. I truly believe, he'll not only return to Columbus this year and chase a step on the podium, I think by the time he graduates, he'll find that top step on the podium. I think that highly of Ethan Amons. As with Campbell,
correct,
a good wrestling family.
Absolutely. His brother, multiple time state placer. They come, his dad wrestled at Ontario, a very well-established wrestler in his own right, but Carson Campbell at 157, a junior for Northmor, a former junior high state champ. That's obviously extremely difficult to do.
I want to explain how difficult it is. When you get in the junior high state championship, there's not divisions 1, 2, and 3. It's just one division. Campbell is a junior high. He's Northmore's first junior high state champion.
Correct. We see great things from him. He's been to the show numerous times.
He'll chase the top step this year.
Yeah, he
was 4th in the state last year.
Yep, 4th as a sophomore. Extremely difficult to do. You'd like to see him take that next step forward. He's going to have a difficult path. There's a Graham kid that's pretty good at that weight class, so hopefully they meet up in the finals. And
I know, but we're not here to talk about Graham. We're here to talk about these kids in the KMAC. Let's talk about Becker. He was 4th in the state last year. Again, a generational situation. 2 older brothers, both wrestled in the state finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one brother would have been probably Northmor's first 2-time state champ. He won in his junior year and then was hit with the COVID year where a lot of wrestlers did not get the opportunity to compete. They qualified for the state tournament, but the state tournament was canceled.
That is something. We've never had a two-timer, but his two older brothers, Conan and Colin, both wrestled in the state finals. Conan was a runner-up, Colin was a state champion.
Right now, if we're looking at the team scores, we'll update you as we go on, but Northmor sitting at 47 points on top, Elgin at 42, Centerburg 26.5. So it's going to be an extremely competitive, or we hope to see an extremely competitive KMAC tournament here, Coach.
I think what you're going to see will be Elgin and Northmor chasing those top two steps on the podium. I see Centerville and Loudonville. Loudonville, I think I mentioned, brought 9 with Coach Ryan Thatcher, and I think those two teams are going to battle it out for 3rd and 4th, but I don't want to dismiss Casey Hoflick's Fredericktown squad with 8 kids, Cardington with 10. There's some good wrestling here today.
Yeah, Coach. Speaking of Loudonville, you mentioned Coach Thatcher, outstanding wrestler in his own right, collegiate wrestler.
Ryan Thatcher was 3rd in the state his senior year at 152 pounds. I remember him.
Yep, extremely good program that he's making sure to make his mark on there. So you'd like to see them just continue to advance, and he's doing great things.
The Mansfield area is filled with good wrestling. As we watch the KMAC today, we want to say hi to our friends at the MOAC. They kind of got the JV broadcast crew. They have Zach Truax and Jeremy Peoples broadcasting. Zach and Jeremy, we say hi to you. You guys may be the JV crew, but you do the best you can over at the MOAC today. There are a lot of good wrestling schools in that conference. You mentioned some of them earlier in this broadcast. Ontario, Highland, Galion, very strong wrestling.
Yeah, but each of those programs should have at least one wrestler
clear for
chasing a state
my
title.
God, the Mansfield area is filled with good wrestlers right now. But I think one of the things that makes our broadcast crew so strong here today is we've got somebody on the floor about to do interviews as we move along with wrestlers and coaches. You want to explain what we have going on down there, Zach?
Yeah, so what we're going to have is, as we progress through the tournament, we're going to be able to just key in on some of these wrestlers that are chasing that state title, that are chasing a high placement.
We've got Travis Berardi, and you guys don't at the MOAC. Travis Berardi is not like you and I, Zach. That's
he's
a professional. Yeah, he's a broadcaster. And we've got him on the floor who will do interviews as the tournament goes on. We appreciate Travis being here today. All right. We should, at some point, announce who the 4 officials. The KMAC is actually sponsoring this broadcast, so we deeply appreciate the league sponsoring this broadcast, and they have brought in not 1, not 2, but 4 good officials for this tournament. They are head official John Hinton, who is also a Northmor former wrestler. He placed 3rd his junior year, and he placed 4th his junior year, 3rd is in the state his senior year. Mr. Hinton is currently the Morrow County Sheriff, so lots of attention to John Hinton, our head official here today. But the other 3 officials are Cade Mickley, Victor Grimaldo, and Paul Posdernick. Yeah, so we appreciate all 4 officials and our league commissioner who's down there by the stage.
Yeah, Sheriff Hinton, outstanding wrestler, has 123 wins, something that was extremely difficult to break that 100-win mark back in the day. Now with the number of matches kids get, sometimes 55, closing in on 60 in a season, it's a little easier, but outstanding wrestler
I used to coach back in the day, so I remember those days. I'll tell you something else about back in the day. I've coached through a couple of rough winters, and I want to compliment every coach and every wrestler here today, and really their parents as well. It has been, Mother Nature has given us a pretty tough winter this year, and it's difficult when you're dealing with school delays and days off school, and you don't know on a bleak day like this if you're going to be able to get to the school on time. We had one school that couldn't get a bus today. The parents got them here in cars. I want to compliment everybody in the sport, and not just wrestling. Basketball, all winter sport coaches have really battled Mother Nature this year.
Yeah, wrestling's not for the faint of heart. Obviously, the weather plays a huge factor. You're wrestling and you're competing. You're managing your weight. You're trying to control all these factors at a time when everyone's getting sick. The schools are closing down for weather delays. You have to still stay focused and compete.
You still got to practice.
You still got to practice. It's the only way you're going to get better.
You know, I'm old enough. I actually coached through the blizzard of 1978. It was a week. Schools were shut down. You couldn't. There was no texting, no internet. You just went a solid week back in 1978 without seeing your team. So I understand what these coaches have gone through this year with a day off here, a delay there. I compliment them. Coach Carr's done a great job with the Northmor program battling Mother Nature, I can tell you that.
Speaking of the Northmor Elgin battle, we're going to have our Carson Campbell will be on mat 2, the black mat. He'll be battling an Elgin wrestler that will be at 165. That's Lucard again. We saw him earlier wrestle a good match. This should be a good bout.
Carson's bumped up a weight class for this tournament.
Coach, that's something that a lot of the kids do. You see Lucart going for a broomstick here. Carson bumped up to 165 to help the team compete. A lot of times you play out of position in sports. Well, wrestling's the same. Sometimes you might weigh less than your opponent, but you got to step up, and Carson gets a nice cradle here.
Yeah, I think it's a misconception that all these kids are losing weight. Usually on a team that I had coached, about a third of the kids might have lost a little weight, about a third of the kids wrestled right what they weighed, and about a third of the kids wrestled up the way Campbell's doing here today.
Yeah, we'll see at 215, Northmor has a very highly talented competitive wrestler, and he's weighing about 196, so the weight class below him, 190, he feels more confident.
Nothing wrong with bumping up and giving up a few pounds. But you've seen, it's not just Northmor's lineup. A lot of wrestlers are bumped up a weight class here today as they have one last gasp of the regular season before sectionals start next week. Wrestling goes sectionals, district, then state. You know, though, the league tournament is so important, I almost hesitate to call it part of the regular season. You can make a lot of people smile if you win your league wrestling tournament. It's good for the morale.
It's highly competitive, too. It's not something where in a regular tournament you look at the seating and you kind of have a general idea of where people are going to be able to place. In a league tournament, when you're trying to represent your school and win your conference for your school, you see a huge number of upsets. Kids coming out just trying to give their all, not only to help the team win a league title, but to have the bragging rights of being a league champion. That's something that will stay with you.
It really sets the tone for spring and summer camps. It's just good for team morale to win the league. And while we haven't won it in a few years, we're going to be competitive here today.
So, talking wrestling, we see over here on mat 2, the official signals locking hands. That's a technical violation. We're going to break down and explain some of the things as they go on. Wrestling-wise, the top wrestler...
That's a rule that hasn't changed,
yeah.
though. You lock hands, your opponent gets 1 point. The only time you can lock hands is in a pinning combination.
Correct. So
that's a rule that hasn't changed.
A free point for the wrestler on bottom that usually through a flurry of moves makes the top wrestler lock their hands. So you'd like to see action from the bottom like that. So,
you know, one rule that's changed, if you're out there and you haven't wrestled in the last couple years, one rule that has changed that I really like are near fall points. It's so much simpler now. Do you want to explain that, or do you want me to?
Coach, it used to be difficult as the numbers were different. Now it's
a two count used to get you 2 points.
A two count used to get you 0 points.
Yeah, a 3 count used to get you 2 points.
And then if you got a 5,
a 5 count would get you 3 points. Now it's however, if the official counts 2, you get 2 back. If he counts 3, you go ahead, Zach.
You get 3 back. It's nice and simple. 4. Now you can get 4 near fall points with a 4 count. So if you used to launch somebody to your back, you were looking at a max of 5 points. 2 for the takedown, 3 for a 5 count near fall. Now it's 7.
3 for the takedown.
3 for the takedown and 4 for the near fall. You're seeing tech falls at a higher rate. You have to change the way you wrestle based on the scoring.
And that just changed this year. So someone out there in streaming land, whether they're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, that they may not know that new rule. So we're glad to explain it. And we're glad to have the OH report live and free helping us explain it. You know my biggest problem with the OH report?
What's that?
They say the future of sports and of high school sports, and I think the OH report has arrived to such a degree that they're no longer the future. They are the way high school sports now operate. I know I frequently sit home on Friday nights and watch football through the OH report rather than coming to an inclement weather game.
Strongly agree, Coach. It's the accessibility.
The OH report does a great job, live and free. That's the bottom line.
As we're viewing Mat 1, we're seeing 2 seniors, Jacob Baker from Loudonville and Ryden Caldell from Lucas, chasing a league title.
They even look like wrestlers, don't they?
They do. They do.
You know how many wrestlers are out there right now?
Caldell with the pen.
I mean,
yeah, Coach. As you just started to say, a number of wrestlers that are out there not competing. This is something you'd like to see. A lot of athletes. Wrestling is a difficult sport to maintain and keep up with.
Sometimes they just look like wrestlers.
Correct. You get some of these kids like those 2 seniors that have made it all the way through. It's absolutely fantastic.
Okay, we're actually bringing some lightweights out to begin round 3.
Here we go. We got Jason Randolph from Northmor. And again, Aiden.
He's a tough little kid, isn't he?
Pasma for Elgin, a great wrestler. Coach's son again.
Coach's son.
Jason's a first-year wrestler.
And he's just given up too much weight. The weight class is 106. You can tell Pasma weighs about 106. He looks like a full head taller than Randolph. I like that young freshman from Northmor. Look at him on his feet. Doesn't he look like a wrestler?
He does. Extremely quick. Again, first-year wrestler, but when you're weighing in at 92, 93 pounds.
He's got a future. It may not be today, but he's got a future.
Extremely quick.
He just needs to stick with it.
There he goes.
The kid's got guts.
And he scraps. He gets in there and he gets in these scramble fight situations. You see him here with the single leg.
Look at that.
Going for the trip. That's a first-year wrestler.
I want you to think about if you're giving up 10 pounds at that weight class, you're giving up 10% of your body. And he's given up more than 10 pounds there. He's literally given up about 15% body weight to the opposing wrestler.
And he keeps it competitive. He was just in on a good shot there.
But eventually that Pasma boy, I mean, he's well coached, the coach's son, and he's just bigger, stronger.
Pasma with a great single leg, having the mat awareness to float around, get his points, and then try and capitalize with the wing.
Every dog has his day, and I guarantee you Jason Randolph is going to have his. Hold your head up high, son.
Without bout numbers, it becomes difficult to follow along and us to get you guys names, but we're going to do our best that we can.
You know, as I look down there, the Randolph boy may have not played football, but the head football coach was on the mat right there with Coach Carr. Coach Carr has such a good wrestling staff. he's the head wrestling coach, does a great job. I think he's in his 17th year. He's had so many state qualifiers and state placers, but he's also got the head football coach seated beside him. Now think about that. That's Coach Armrose, who just took his football team to the state semifinals. And naturally, he's got a lot of those kids in the lineup here today. The two running backs are in the lineup, Becker and Campbell. He's got his own son out there who's in the lineup. Several other football players in the lineup. Football and wrestling match. But the head baseball coach is also one of Coach Carr's assistant coaches, Coach Buck Workman, and he's a whale of a coach too.
Yeah, Coach, having just people that are able to explain and demonstrate to these kids is huge.
Professional coaches.
Professional coaches.
Professional coaches. That's what. I mean, think about what Coach Armrose did. 14-1 in the state semifinals. You know, though, that's another thing that we've battled this winter. Wrestling started so late here because football. We were still practicing football after Thanksgiving. We played a football game the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So wrestling got a late start. Coach Carr had to give those football players some time off, and admirably he did that. And then he had to battle Mother Nature on top of that late start. So it's been a rough season for Coach Carr. I greatly admire what he's done this year.
That's right, Coach. And at all levels of the wrestling lineup, even Coach Carr's own son, Brady Carr, wrestled 120 and 126 this year. Starting on the football team.
He's up at 32 today, though.
He's up at 32 today.
Going to wrestle 26 in the sectional next week.
But taking that time off early in the wrestling season where you hope to get your wind back and get your legs under you, they're still playing football games, keeping the football weight on. So a lot of these guys started from behind, but they made it up quickly.
Oh, here comes a strong football player. This kid was a defensive end that disrupted a lot of opposing football teams. Can you tell us about Ashton Clark?
Yeah, Coach. Ashton, again, giving up a little weight, but you would not guess it. Strong kid here, wrestling a Zach Pickens out of Cardington.
Won the Marion Harding Christmas Classic.
He did, extremely competitive. As a senior, you'd like to see him go out there and just manhandle these guys, but again, giving up 15 pounds. It's a little different when you're at 215. Well, I guess in this situation, giving up 20 pounds, it's not the same as poor Jason at 106.
He took him down, got his 3 points. He's kicking him out, and he's going to play a takedown. 3-1.
Now, if you're wondering why, even though there's separation, he's not getting another takedown there.
He's got to face him.
Pickens has got to face Ashton for him to get to escape.
Clark
is
a man. He's a man, and he was a man on that football field for Coach Armrose.
Good pin there from Ashton.
There's a number of good football players peppered throughout this wrestling tournament here today. Here comes our head football coach's son, Nick Armrose.
Yeah, Nick wrestling right after Ashton.
I love Nick. I hope he goes into education. I think his older brother's going into education. They just have tremendous personalities, good with kids. I've seen him work with my grandson. He'd make a good teacher.
Yeah, a good teacher and a good coach. Nick's one of our seniors, one of our 3 seniors, along with Ashton and Cohen Becker. Absolutely phenomenal job at breaking down wrestling to a fundamental level to a lot of our younger guys. We have a lot of younger guys that didn't make the lineup at that 215, 190 weight class, and Nick is an outstanding teacher/coach to these young men.
He was a good football player. Another one of those linemen for his dad.
Prime example of Nick having great hips, staying in good position.
Despite giving up all that weight.
Correct.
My goodness. How much has he given up? He's wrestling heavyweight today.
He is.
And what did he weigh in at? What do you think?
I was there, I would say it was close to 225. So the heavyweight weight class, you can go all the way up to 285. Nick giving up quite a bit, but a strong athletic kid that knows how to stay in position.
Well, that's a strong athletic kid he's got on the mat right now.
You see Nick keeping his head inside for good head position to kind of counter that weight advantage.
Mount Gilead's got a good heavyweight. and a good coaching staff. You see all those coaches over there. Mount Gilead is a well-coached program.
They are.
I wish they could get bigger numbers, but I'm sure they wish that too. This boy's name is Cody
Mimer, and Cody is ranked in the state in the top 10. So you're looking at a kid that Nick's wrestling that is going to be at the state tournament this year.
Again, the pounds eventually caught up with Nick, just like we explained at lightweight, and Cody got the pin right there. I wish Cody the best of luck at the state tournament. I can see Mount Gilead sending several of the wrestlers they sent here today to the state. Thank you, Travis. Travis Berardi just brought us some water. I can't believe Travis is too important to be bringing me water.
Now, Coach,
I'm just up here talking wrestling. He's the real broadcaster.
At What 13, we just had a match come off with a female wrestler.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
You want to talk
I
about
do.
Lilia from Cardington?
I do. I can tell you one of the fastest growing sports in America today is female wrestling. Girls wrestling is really taking off. Now, occasionally you'll still see, as you just saw a moment ago, a girl wrestling in the boys' tournament. Hats off to them if they've got the guts to do that, and some of them are good enough to do it. Northmor was actually one of the first schools to ever throw a girl on the mat. Several decades ago, when we put Jessie Shirley out there, she was actually the first girl in the state of Ohio to win a match at the district level. Yeah, at the district level. I mean, we've had a number of girl wrestlers at Northmor down through the years, but now you're seeing schools have girls teams. Northmor doesn't have a girls team yet, but several of these programs here today have girls teams. I know Fredericktown has a girls team.
They do, and it's one of the things that as we move on through the sport, we have to change and adapt. Wrestling becoming a girls sport is going to be great for these girls that are trying to get into college. It's
an Olympic sport.
It's without a doubt the easiest way to get a women's scholarship is female wrestling. It's the opposite for men.
Title IX, you've got to give out the same number of scholarships to lady athletes as male athletes in college, and that's only fair.
Correct.
So consequently, the colleges are bringing on left and right female wrestling programs.
Coach, what would you say, what do you believe would be the easiest male sport? I know the answer, but the easiest male sport to get a scholarship in?
Well, you're seeing, again, a lot of schools, now not the schools the size of these schools like male volleyball.
It is male volleyball, Coach. And again, similar situation. A lot of these schools don't have dedicated female wrestling teams. That's why now's the prime time. If you're a young girl and you're thinking of how you're going to pay for a scholarship, how to pay for college, girls wrestling.
Women's wrestling.
Women's wrestling is a fantastic.
Let's go to Matt too and talk wrestling. One of the better wrestlers out there for Northmor today.
Yeah, we have Ethan Amons, again, strong Northmor family. He's wrestling a Cardington kid, Dylan Compton. Dylan actually upset Brady Carr last year at this tournament, so good to see them both competing at a high level. Ethan gets the quick pin there. 34-second pin for Ethan Amons.
His uncle was one of the best wrestlers Shelby High School ever had. A lot of good generational families out here. All right, we're moving right along into round 3. You're starting to see the middleweights hit the mat.
I think over here on mat 2, we have Trent Rook, the 1 seed again from Fredericktown. We spoke about the senior Mr. Rook from Fredericktown earlier. He'll be going against Waylon Harris, a freshman out of Loudonville. We got 3 freshmen in that 126 weight class.
And then Rook, the returning state qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, one of those 3 freshmen is Cooper Schlegel. That'll be a good final bout between Rook and Schlegel. Senior against freshman.
Here we see Rook. Got that wrist underneath. starting to run a wing, switching over to a half.
Yeah,
but
he's switching to a half.
when you control the wrist like that, it's absolutely dominant. Here we got our live cam out.
Young wrestlers, when you're on the mat the way Rook is, you want to have high hips. You want to keep your opponent's hips down as flat as possible. When you're on your feet, low hips win. Low hips win when you're on your feet, high hips when you're on the mat.
Got a female wrestler from Lucas here.
You might hear Truax and Peoples explain that at the MOAC, but not as well as we can, huh?
Jeremy Peoples, a good Northmor wrestler.
Yes, he was. He was a very good as was Truax. They're probably over there hammering us on the air right now.
Oh, more people are listening to us, I'm sure. Yeah, Ramey from Lucas, a freshman at 120 on mat 1. Good job on that head inside single, switching off to a double. Doesn't quite get it. You'd like to see her shelf that, bring that ankle, put it up on her hip, and just come up to her feet.
I've seen her wrestle before, and I greatly admire her. She's a wrestler. She's a tough kid.
Great job in the scramble there. She had the takedown. Like to see better leg defense. Get that leg back or at least whiz her.
I wouldn't be surprised if she wrestles in Columbus. Right now, when we have the OHSAA wrestling tournament in Columbus, there's a couple of mats dedicated just to female wrestling. It's amazing. The females will wrestle right alongside the males in front of 14,000 screaming fans.
Jocelyn doing a good job fighting that off, getting her hips down, but she ends up getting turned with a half. Short time. This is something from a coaching standpoint. You try and explain to your kids, short time, get out of the period, and we can reset here. Don't give up the pin. Fortunately, Jocelyn gives it up with 1.8 left on the clock. But you're right, Coach. She'll be in Columbus.
She'll be in Columbus when she just wrestles the girls. Nice job, young lady.
And, Coach, you said Lucas brought 6 wrestlers, correct? Something to that.
No, Lucas just brought 3.
3.
2 boys and her.
Yeah, you'd like to see them get those numbers up. That way these kids are able to push each other more. It's hard when you only have a handful of wrestlers and they're at a different weight class or not even close to each other.
It's hard to practice, too.
It is.
It's hard to get better. When the room's not filled with numbers, it's hard to get better. It is a team sport. It really is. There she is. We should have Travis interview her.
Okay.
We're going to work on that. See if we can get Travis to interview the young lady from Lucas. I'd like to hear her aspirations myself.
And you hope it's wrestling in college because she has a bright future.
What grade is she in?
She's a freshman this year.
Wow.
So
she's obviously not a first-year wrestler.
Yeah, she'll be competing at a high level in Columbus at some point. When you hear us reference Columbus, the state tournament is held down in Columbus every year for those that are not, or maybe clicking on to watch their grandson wrestle from another state or are not familiar with the sport.
Ohio's one of the better wrestling states in the entire union. If I had to rank the top 10, Ohio would unquestionably be in the top 10 and maybe in one of the top 5 wrestling states in the entire United States. Last night, although we did see Ohio State soundly defeated by Penn State. Did you see that on TV, the Big Ten?
I did, Coach. That's Kel Sanderson's program there at Penn State is unlike anything we've really seen in recent years at college wrestling.
They won 7 of the 10 matches.
Pennsylvania and high school wrestling, extremely competitive. Ohio, right up there, probably in the top 3 with maybe California or New Jersey rounding out those top 3 or 4.
I'd put Iowa and Minnesota, some of the Midwestern states. There's no doubt Ohio annually puts a lot of wrestlers into collegiate wrestling programs around the nation. In fact, little old Northmor has put wrestlers, we talked about having over 100 state qualifiers. We've sent wrestlers hither and yon. We've had wrestlers wrestle out on the West Coast, East Coast.
Right now we've had
them wrestle for Duke,
We have a
Arizona.
wrestling at Duke. CB Dalloway, Northmore's first state champion, was an All-American from Arizona State. Went on to have a great MMA career. I believe he still lives out in Arizona and running a gym.
He does. He does.
I'd like to congratulate CB. I think he just had a baby not too long ago.
He did. As did you, Zach.
I did.
As did you. What's that baby girl's name?
Eleanor.
Eleanor.
Baby Eleanor.
I love old-time names. I love that. But then I'm old. What are you going to do?
Well-aged, Coach, like wine. Well-aged.
Oh, how we doing on team points? Update us.
All right, Coach. Right now, again, close battle.
There we go on the
sitting
screen.
At 59, Elgin at 54, Centerburg, Mount Gilead, and Loudonville kind of falling back a little bit. Again, that's the issue you run into when you're not filling these weight classes.
How about Mount Gilead? I did not see them. They're really coming on there. But again, they've got several kids that I think are going to go to state. Okay, head coach's son out there on the mat 1.
Yeah, Brady again giving up some weight to bump up to 32, doing what's best for the team. He came in as the 1 seed here in round 3. He's wrestling Tyler Reeder from Loudonville, senior. Good wrestler. Tyler Reeder, obviously a smart wrestler, trying to stay outside the range of Brady. Brady, an outstanding on his feet. Extremely fast wrestler. On mat 2, we have another Northmor guy, Beck, wrestling.
Brady's a 2-time state qualifier, but beaten in round 1 here today. This tournament has snake bit us for years now. Again, we haven't won it since 2019, but we currently, when I say we, I have to understand I live in the Northmor School District and coached here. Northmor is in first place right now.
Yeah, Brady lost a close match to Braxton Vernon, a sophomore out of Centerburg. A young sophomore, just extremely aggressive. You assume that great Centerburg program is.
Think who he's practicing with every day, though. You know what I'm saying?
Some good mat time.
That 144-pounder that's a returning state runner-up from 138. That's what you need. You need good practice partners.
I got interviews to try to get in here too. We've got Trent Rook who just won that, but I need to test the mic, so I need you guys to set the.
We're getting really close to Travis Berardi doing some interviews for us. We love that idea. Travis, when you're ready to take it over, I think he's going to take the Rook boy first and talk to him. I hope he gets a chance to talk to that young lady from Lucas. Our producer here today is Adam Thompson, and I think very highly of Adam Thompson. Again, the varsity is here today. We sent some good people to the MOAC, but we've got Adam. Here comes some music. We're getting ready for the interview, and here we go.
Check. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. What did you have for lunch? It's just a microphone check.
I had some pretzels and peanut butter.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Okay, if you want to stand right here, we'll be facing up there. I'm down here with Fredericktown senior Trent Rook. He just earned his 100th career win, and it also clinches him a spot to wrestle for a KMAC championship in his weight class. First of all, Trent, congratulations. Take me through that match that got you your 100th win.
Got out there, keep my head in it, do what we do at practice. I don't know, just take a shot, get him down, and get him turned.
I guess, can you reflect on your career at Fredericktown? I mean, it's not over yet, but 100 wins is a big accomplishment for a wrestler.
Yeah, it's a big accomplishment. I've been doing it. It took a while to get to it, but I finally did it, and it feels good and happy.
Yeah. And like I said, you're wrestling in the final rounds. You'll be wrestling for a KMAC championship, probably against the Elgin wrestler. But just what's it going to take to knock him off and get the gold?
Keep my head in it. Watch the match before, what he does, what he likes to run.
Yeah.
Pay attention to that, and go out there and give it my all.
All right. Lastly, we do this on the OH Report. If you want to look in the camera, shout at as many people out as you want. Go for it.
I'd like to shout out my coaches, family, friends. That's about it.
There you go. Trent Rook, 100 wins. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Alrighty.
I'd like to congratulate Trent Rook, too. Congratulations. I'd like to congratulate Trent Rook, too. He may wrestle for Fredericktown, but I have a great deal of respect for what he's accomplished. 100 wins is a tough number to get to. Good job, Trent Rook. We're rooting for you. Congratulations, young man.
Very, very promising career that he's had. You'd like to see him wrestle somewhere collegiately. When you're that successful, you hope that these kids are going to go and pursue a career in wrestling. So it'll definitely be a great finals match he'll have against Schlegel, but outstanding job for the young Mr. Rook.
You know, I've told a lot of kids down through the years, if you don't want to wrestle in college, that's fine. Think about becoming an official. And maybe there's somebody out there on Facebook or they're streaming this through YouTube. Maybe I'll plant a seed. Wrestling can always use more officials. Now, we've got 4 good officials here today, thanks to our KMAC commissioner.
Yeah, Coach, here we got a tight match on mat 1. Brady Carr against the Loudonville wrestler Tyler Reeder. 0-0 going into the third period. I believe Carr chose down, trying to get an escape to squeeze out of this a 1-0 lead.
Brady has always risen up at the end of the year. I expect him to do that over the next 3 weeks, sectional district, state.
Yeah, you saw in his,
he'll be okay. He'll be better when he gets back down to 126 next week.
Yeah, his first 2 years, tight go-to-state match. You see him just have the heart and the fortitude to push on through.
He's a fine young man.
He is. Here at 132, definitely giving up some weight.
His mom and dad have done a good job with him.
Reeder doing a good job riding his hips. You'd like to see Brady try and clear his hips and get to his feet here. A huge part of wrestling is not allowing your opponent to get in a good position. Reeder trying to break him down, but Brady keeping his hips up, as you alluded to earlier.
High hips win on the mat, young people. High hips win on the mat. Whether your hips are higher than his or whether you just lower his hips, I don't care how you do it, but high hips win on the mat. I know our grade school coach preaches that, Jamie Baldridge. He's done a great job with the basics this year, teaching our grade school program. And pats on the back to all the grade school coaches from all 10 schools here today. Coaching grade school sometimes has no big attention that goes with it, but you're helping kids. Our grade school tournament is tomorrow, by the way. The mats, you see them over in the corner over there. We're putting out 2 more mats. We'll run a grade school tournament tomorrow in several gyms. Northmor owns 4 gyms. We will run a grade school tournament tomorrow in 2 gyms with 4 mats.
Brady doing a good job getting squeaking out a 2-0 win there.
A win is a win.
A win's a win.
Hugging his dad right there. Good job, Dad. Dad gave his son a little pat on the butt. I gave my son a few of those down through the years, and that'll be you one day, Zach.
Oh, I'm excited for it. I have my kids are definitely interested in wrestling. It's something that, as a parent, you don't want to push them anyway towards a sport, but
you can let your girls wrestle.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
If they decide that's the route they want to go, I'm sure they'll be competitive and successful. A lot of great programs around the area, so wherever.
I see our grade school coach over in the corner drilling with, I think he's drilling with Parsons.
He is. Ryan Parsons.
Jamie Baldridge. He's done. Jamie was a state runner-up. His brother Brian was a state champion. Jamie is giving heart and soul to this program right now. He is the head junior high coach, and he's the head grade school coach. He's doing double duty.
Yeah, Coach, phenomenal wrestler. Jamie Baldridge, obviously a phenomenal coach. You'll look for him to do great things from a coaching standpoint. Speaking of head coaches, our next interview should be Scott Carr, the Northmor head coach.
Good.
Trying to get him up on the stage right now. Be able to hear a little of what he thinks of how the season's going.
And Travis does a good job. Better than you and I. There's Coach Carr. He's got a microphone. We might go in from the KMAC mats to the KMAC stage here in a second.
Back down here with Northmor head coach Scott Carr. Just watch your son pull off a very big victory. Keeps him in the running for the individual championship, but it also helps you guys, you and Elgin, fighting back and forth, trying to knock them off to keep them from getting the four-peat.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, that was a big match, a 100-match winner he just beat there from Loudonville. So that was a big win for Brady for his confidence. And every time I pull up the team results, we're in first. Then the next time I look, Elgin's in first, and it's been that way. We're really two competitive teams, and top to bottom, and we're getting after it today.
I know we're going through the third round right now. It's going to speed up for the next two, but your team as a whole set up well as we get into the championship rounds?
Yeah. We've had, we talked to some of the kids, some of the tweener kids that could go either way on some of these matches. We talked to them all week and challenged them to step up and win these matches that they're capable of winning. We're not asking them to beat St. Ed's or Graham or something like that, but
yeah,
just individuals step up and get it done, and some of them really have. They've really stepped up today.
And finally, just you got home court advantage as well here. What's it mean to have the KMACs back here at Northmor? Just it's a home environment. It makes you guys feel a little more comfortable.
Right. Yeah. We're familiar with the facilities. We got our own locker room. We get to sleep in our own bed. Don't have to get on a bus in the morning, and all those things. They definitely help. But the bottom line is, it's still wrestling. You still got to put your toe on the line, and it doesn't matter if the mat's black or gray or purple. You still got to show up.
All right. Well, best of luck the rest of the way,
Thanks
Coach. Thank you for talking.
Appreciate it.
Good job, Coach Carr. Good job, Travis Berardi. We appreciate the interviews. We love Travis doing those interviews. I'm still pushing for an interview, though, with that Lucas young lady. She is impressive. I think some of our fans might like to hear from a female wrestler down the line sometime. It's possible we'll get to hear from her later.
We're still pretty early on in this.
Yeah, we're early on. We're halfway through the third round. And again, 7 rounds. 7 rounds to determine a championship. Should be about I'll say 3:30.
Coaches, we're watching some of these matches. On mat 1, you love to see people staying in good position and capitalizing.
Some of these player interviews that Travis is doing will be after matches. We don't want to get their interviews, we don't want to get in their head while they're competing. So some of these interviews that we're talking about will be later in the tournament. And that's fair. When they're actually wrestling, in the next 20, 30 minutes, we shouldn't have them on stage doing an interview. So look for Travis to be more active as the tournament goes on.
Yeah, Coach. The Becker-Marshall match, we don't want to interfere with that.
No.
That's one of those things where you want to see them succeed.
I'm going to
and put
call
their best foot
I'm going to
forward.
call the Becker-Marshall match the premier match in the tournament. Let me explain. Christopher Marshall is the Centerburg senior who placed second at 138. He's at 144 here today. Cohen Becker placed fourth at 132 last year for Northmor. He's also at 144. You can see those two seniors wrestle here today. You can see them wrestle in the sectional finals, the district finals, and I'm not kidding you, it's possible you could see these two actually wrestle for the fourth week in a row at the state tournament. They're both that talented. They're both chasing the top step.
Yeah, lost opportunity for these two guys. They met once before as sophomores.
No, I think they've met twice.
Twice?
I think Becker beat him in both his freshman and sophomore year. He beat Marshall his freshman year and his sophomore year. But they did not wrestle as juniors. They were in different weight classes. Hey, we've got another young lady out there, Zach.
I think we're looking at one.
I caught my color commentator off track.
Well, we can talk about Quentin Harrison, the senior that just wrestled her. A fantastic wrestler, actually ranked second in the state right now at 157. Fine young wrestler from Elgin. I believe he placed seventh last year in an extremely competitive weight class.
The Harrison boy was Elgin's first ever state placer. First ever. Harrison, good job, young man. I hope you place even higher this year, Quentin. Here comes our grade school coach. He's going to sit in a chair for this next match, along with Coach Carr.
Yeah, we just saw him over on the side with Ryan Parsons, who's getting ready to wrestle the Danville kid. Hopefully coaching him up, getting some good success.
Neither one of those guys needs a haircut today.
Yeah, Northmor staff rocking a good bald look, very very clean and sleek. All right, Ryan Parsons being aggressive here on mat 2.
Who's he wrestling?
Young Danville kid Ryan Parsons actually bumping up to, again, do what's best for the team. Him wrestling 150. He'll be wrestling Danville's Cooper Baldridge. Baldridge, a good name. A freshman out of Danville.
In what weight class?
This is at 150. Baldridge, the 6 seed. Ryan Parsons, the 3 seed. To be seeded, you have to either be a returning qualifier at the state district level or have a winning record.
7 wrestlers in that weight class.
Ryan gets a nice quick pin.
7's the most any.
Tied with 113, I believe.
Yeah, no weight class has 8 here today. 7 enabled us to go round robin. And that's what we're trying to do, is get everybody some matches.
And with that, Coach, you think 10 teams, why aren't there 10 here? Some of these schools, again, East Knox, for example, 1 wrestler. They're not filling full lineups. Again, it's a tough season in the wintertime. A lot of people get sick. A lot of people are not able to compete in a sport where every week it's grueling. This is not you get a week off to do something. Every weekend you're making weight, you're going out there.
It's not a sport for the faint of heart.
It's not.
You know, pats on the back to the parents of these kids, because a lot of times these kids do need a little nudge from home, a little encouragement from home, and mom and dad can provide that.
And especially at the biddy level, it can be discouraging. You take the kids to practice and you think they're ready, and then you take them to an open biddy tournament and they go 2 and skidoo. A couple quick pins and they get discouraged. It's hard as a parent to not get discouraged as well, but to have to have the fortitude to keep your kid with it. Outstanding job to all the coaches and parents out there that stuck with it. A lot of these seniors here that are going to maybe win a league title, it happened because the parents and the coaches made sure that the kids didn't get discouraged, that they didn't give up. So
There's Rockcaster Cone down there. He's real good. I've met him, talked with him, good Christian man. He's very encouraging for those people that are in that program. You drop a match, it's not the end of life, son. There's a lesson to be learned there.
A little to the left of Coach Casterone, we see Coach Pasma, very calm and collected.
With Coach Schlegel.
With Coach Schlegel. Can't say enough about what a great program they're running there at Elgin. You'd like to see these smaller schools that are bringing 1, 3, 5 wrestlers. You'd like to see them take that approach, get more coaches involved at the high school level.
Yeah, we've talked about how Elgin's gotten a lot better over these last few years, and Coach Schlegel has helped them climb another step on that ladder of success. Coach Pasma, though, he's the man that runs the show.
A lot of the
as
success,
Coach Carr does here.
Correct. A lot of this success comes from having these coaches in the building. A lot of programs struggle. You have coaches that aren't available to these kids 5 days a week outside of the wrestling room. Having a Coach Pasma as a teacher, being able to address issues that come up with the kids, as you were when you were in the school, Coach, it's phenomenal.
I worked at Northmor 40 years, and I'd do it again if I were a young man. But I do think there's a lot of value in having at least one person on the staff in the building. I greatly admire our football coach, Coach Armrose. He's the only football coach on staff that was a teacher in our building. And he held that program together. He's done a great job. But you just need that one dynamic personality. And
which speaks to Northmore staff, having 3 head coaches that all 3, the wrestling head coach, the baseball head coach, the football head coach, all on the wrestling staff as teachers in the program.
But I do not want to diminish the coaches that aren't in the building. Coach Armrose has a number of very talented people, compassionate people, good Christian people teaching more than football on his football staff. And quite honestly, it takes a village.
It does.
It takes a village. You got to have people. We mentioned Jamie Baldridge a little while ago as our grade school and junior high. Think about the time that he's not married, so he's able to give it, but it takes a village, and it takes people like Jamie Baldridge that are dedicated to the program, well beyond the head coach. Well beyond the head coach, it takes a village. And almost every one of these teams here today have those kind of people peppered into their program.
Those assistants that are able to come
Yep.
get the kids good bat time.
Can't mention every name here. Don't know them all, you know? See them at grade school tournaments, but just admire them. Admire the grade school coaches. You could make a case for they're the most important coach in the building. The most important coach in a program are the grade school coaches.
I'm going to pull up 2023 in the top corner to show you, just so you can remember back.
My producer Adam's pulling up some things. He does a great job, Adam does. You ever watch those commercials? We are. I love the commercials that Skronsky's doing with the OH Report now with Coach Baylog and Berardi. Those commercials are phenomenal. I love those commercials.
So what we're looking at up in the top corner there is 2023, hour number 4 of a 7-hour broadcast. It was us, though.
Adam's talking to me about a tournament we did back in 2023. We've done wrestling. The OH Report, people, live and free, and the future of sports, very much so.
That was the first one I got to do with you, Coach. I really enjoyed that.
You know, the OH Report is really housed in downtown Mansfield, and I'd be remiss if I didn't just quickly mention my compatriot here, Zach Zolman. is one of those people helping rebuild downtown Mansfield. Tell them about your City Mill building. Just real quick.
Yeah, the downtown Mansfield has a lot of projects that they're trying to push to make downtown Mansfield
The
again.
OH Report's in one of those ancient buildings.
Correct. Buildings dating back early 1800s. My building's the oldest commercial property
You own
in
the
Mansfield.
City Mill.
Yep. But they're going to have a renovation project of the Main Street downtown. It's an $11 million project.
Good for Mansfield.
Where they'll try and make it a more desirable place for people to spend time. Absolutely fantastic people working on that program. Too many entities to really list, but Mansfield doing a good job at investing in their downtown. I mean, it's the heart of the city. So great job downtown Mansfield and everyone that's trying to contribute to make that a better place.
Back to the OH Report, though. They're housed in one of those downtown buildings. And I get the biggest kick out of those OH Report commercials. And as my producer, Adam, teases me about something we did in 2023, I think he's pretty good in that latest commercial where Coach Baylog hammers him and he's worried about the 3-second rule.
Got a good match on Matt, too. Young Sean Walker.
I'm not saying you have I like Sean Walker. Sean Walker, his grandpa wrestled for me, Brad Walker. Brad Walker's a good man, isn't he?
Oh, fantastic guy. He owns the Johnsville Tire Shop.
Again, a
good
local
businessman.
Yep, a local businessman.
Sean Walker doing a good job controlling the ride here.
He's got high hips.
Yep, on this.
High hips on the mat. Working a wing, trying to get the pin.
Taking off, staying on his toes.
A wing and a wrist. Oh, he got a little high. But he came back. Yeah, he did settle back. Good for him.
A lot of times you see young wrestlers trying to run that wing or the half from their knees. You got to get up on your toes and drive forward. Sean going to get the pin here. Good stick by Sean Walker.
I love Sean Walker. I happen to know he has one of the highest IQs in the building, in the school.
Extremely intelligent.
Yes, he is. Fine young man. Look at him. No big deal. Just another match. Another match.
Back-to-back matches for Northmor. Carson Campbell, 2-time placer, 3-time qualifier. He'll be competing to try and be a finalist this year at 57.
Who's he about to wrestle, Zach?
Cardington's 157-pounder is Lucas Brook, a fine young freshman.
Coached by Michael Ungalabang, who's done the right thing, as I pointed out earlier. He's bringing the program back up from the grade school level, and some of these kids that wrestled for him years ago are now feeding into the high school.
Lucas was a freshman at 57. Carson's actually bumped up to 65, so he'll face off against the number 3 seed, Wyatt Denny, a junior, very, very strong junior from Cardington here. Carson trying to work a cradle.
Carson never plays the takedown game. He puts him away quick. you got to admire him. He's a pinner.
It's a sound strategy.
He's
and it works out well for him.
He's a pinner. It has worked out well for him. He was 4th in the state as a sophomore. And think about it. I'm not talking about 4th in the state as a sophomore lightweight. 4th in the state as a middleweight.
Mm-hmm. He'll be competing. Again, we talked about people
chasing the top step.
We talked about people competing on a weekend basis. Him and Quentin Harrison. Quentin at 57 this year. Carson will go back down to 57 next week. And they'll compete at the sectional district and state level, potentially meeting in the state finals.
Where is the sectional next week, Zach?
We'll be at Ridgedale for the sectional next week for Elgin and Northmor.
As will many of these schools. And then they'll be heading down to Troy for the Southwest District. So that's a big difference from where we've been in past years.
It is.
In the past years, we've been combined with the Eastern District, the Central District, and the Eastern District have combined. Now we're going down to the Southwestern District.
Yeah, it's going to be a long haul for a school that's an hour north of Columbus to go down to the Southwest District, but it's what we drew and it's what we're going to get. So going to see a Graham team going down from D2 to D3. They'll be at that district. So.
Yeah, if you're new to the sport of wrestling, you may not have heard of St. Paris Graham. But St. Paris Graham has won the state championship many, many years, and they moved down from D3 or D2 to D3 this year. And that's where Northmor resides, D3.
This is Moac. Just to give you
But we're only wrestling them one kid at a time, so bring it on.
For those of you that would like to know the MOAC team scores, Clear Fork has a slight lead over Galion and Ontario right now. Highland not far behind. About a 30-point gap there between those teams. Marion Harding in the running as well. So a lot of good wrestling left for the MOAC. Still a tight race.
Good job, Adam and Zach, to give us that tournament score. I'm interested, even though we're not broadcasting it. I want to keep track of what's going on in the MOAC. Northmor used to belong to the MOAC before this league was formed. But you know, what's going on here today with these two additional schools is really what's happened at the collegiate level. You see conferences changing all the time now, whether it's high school or college. I get a big kick out of what's called the Atlantic Coast Conference in college. The Atlantic Coast Conference has schools from the Atlantic Coast all the way out to the West Coast in California, Stanford. And honestly, it's the same way with the Big Ten. The Big Ten now has 18 teams. So while it's a fluid situation in conferences collegiately, it's a fluid situation in the high school level as well, too. We were once in the MOAC, but now we're wrestling KMAC. It doesn't stay. Nothing stays the same.
A couple great matches we got going on right now. James Eichler wrestling a strong Cardington wrestler at 190. Carter Sherman, a sophomore. This is a good bout. Eichler, the 2 seed, Sherman, the 4 seed, but giving him all he can handle. On mat 2 at 175, we got another Northmor kid, Ethan Littleton, bumping up to try and help the team out here. Littleton, a sophomore, wrestling 175. That's a big boy weight class, Coach. That's
I think highly of that Littleton boy, though, don't you?
I do. Wrestling a junior in Landon King. Landon from Danville, strong wrestler. You know, Coach, I think pinners are winners. I remember you saying that 100 times growing up, and I watched these guys a lot of times, especially in a league tournament, you're never out of it. You see these guys get behind. They're still in it. A pin, obviously, regardless of the score, is a win. So even though they're behind, you got to watch for the young Danville wrestler.
We should explain when he says watch growing up. Zach wrestled for me. I used to coach at Northmor. Zach was a 3-time state qualifier. He placed 7th his sophomore year, 4th his junior year, and his senior year when he was chasing that top step. He made it to state, but he was injured, and that's just part of life.
Yep, you got to make the most of the opportunities when you had it. I was lucky enough to qualify 3 times, but never got to get on that top step. Some of these guys here, they're going to reach that.
The
point.
top step is elusive. There's only one. There's only one top step.
There's only one.
Nice match by Littleton right there, huh?
Mm-hmm. And you see Eichler, even though he's behind 10-1, doing a good job getting the reversal there. He doesn't stop. That's one thing that regardless of the score, James Eichler is constantly moving. You'd like to see him kind of get his head inside a little better for that cradle attempt, but I imagine we're going to see that here in a moment again.
You know, that Littleton boy is going to make an excellent football player. So many times we've talked to kids about the marriage of football and wrestling.
Yeah, as we explained earlier, hips, having good hips. Tackling's the same way. You got to make sure to get your hips under you. James Eichler with a throw attempt there. Minute 44 on mat 1. We're neutral. Eichler down 8 points.
about the he's getting his
Sherman on a shot attempt. You'd like to see a little bit of urgency here from Eichler. Down 8 points, a minute 30. You want to be patient. You want to make sure to set that up, but you don't want to. You don't want to be too brash.
Hey, Zach, I want to point out Blake Elliott. It's putting on a show right now
on mat 2,
wrestling for East Knox. This kid is such an athlete. He's now got his own banner in the East Knox gym.
That's fantastic.
Think about that. Now he's an outstanding football player, but he's also a 3-time state qualifier in wrestling. This kid has his own banner in the East Knox gym. I mean, you can see banners in every gym for softball, track, volleyball, wrestling, etc. But Blake Elliott's got his own banner.
Here goes James Eichler, not able to get the throw, giving up the stick to Sherman. Yeah, he is absolutely phenomenal, Blake Elliott of East Knox.
You know who's phenomenal is Adam Thompson, our producer, who pointed out to me Blake Elliott has his own banner.
That's a good find.
That's a good producer.
You're digging deep.
Howard East Knox.
I'll tell you who'd like to see Elliott get a pin here, the Northmor team. He's wrestling an Elgin kid that's a phenomenal kid in Jack Van Gundy. Had an older brother, Nels Van Gundy.
Yeah, I remember
a good
Nels.
wrestler from his own.
I remember Nels.
I believe there's Finn Van Gundy. That's the one
There
seed
he
from
is.
Elgin, a
There he
sophomore
is. He's
at
a sophomore.
175.
I've seen Finn wrestle.
But again, Elgin's going to get what Northmor, what you'd like to see them get what Northmor has in these long lines of family wrestling. The Van Gundys.
It just takes generations. I mean, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it in 9 years. It takes decades. We now have wrestlers whose grandfathers.
Yeah. James Baldridge Sr., one of the first Northmor wrestlers to make it to the state tournament, now has grandkids that are moving through the Biddy program and will one day.
James Baldridge, we talked about his 2 sons earlier. We talked about Brian, state champion, Jamie, a state runner-up. James Baldridge was one of the toughest kids to ever go through Northmor High School. I still wouldn't mess with him if you want to know the truth. Maybe give me a ball bat. I'm out of my weight class.
Speaking of the MOAC, another Northmor grad, Jeremiah Howe, comes from a long line of the Howe family. Darren Howe.
Coach in Shelby, Jeremiah Howe.
Darren Howe was a state qualifier from Northmor, one of our first. And Jeremiah Howe is state qualifier from Northmor.
He's
now the head
battling
coach.
right now at the MOAC.
Well, it's not much of a battle. I'm pretty sure they're in last, but they are there competing. And again, another great program that is on the way up.
Do you have the MOAC scores over there? We'll keep our fans updated on the MOAC scores. We also ought to give them, as we finish round 3, updated scores for the KMAC. We're in the last couple of matches of round 3.
So we'll go through this real quick as we're updating. We have Clear Fork at 166, Galion 145, Ontario 134, Highland 130, Marion Harding 124, Pleasant at 92, River Valley at 81, and Shelby at 76. So a very, very tight race there at the MOAC. But again, this is the KMAC.
I'm told they're a little further along in their tournament than we are.
They started about an hour before we did, Coach. So
we had a weather delay.
So Elgin has taken a slight lead over Northmor and Centerburg, but still extremely competitive.
Give us. We're finishing round 3. Give us an updated score when you get it, Zach. No hurry. Here come the lightweights.
Starting round 4. And again, not seeing 106-pounders out there. We'll start at 113.
Round 4 should go fast.
Yeah, 106 only has 3 wrestlers, so we'll bypass that weight class here. Rounds 1, 3, and 7 are our thickest rounds. That's when everybody will be wrestling. So round 4, 5, and 6 should go pretty quick. All right, I got some updated scores here. Elgin, slight lead over Northmor with 93. Northmor has 85. And then a pretty big gap between third. Centerburg at 46, Loudonville 33, Mount Gilead 23 and a half, Cardington at 23, Fredericktown 20, Lucas at 7.5, and that East Knox score of 3.5. I'm sure it's not updated completely yet
because of the East Knox. Yeah, Blake.
But Blake Elliott scoring by himself, I'm sure is going to.
Blake's going to be good for about 34 points today, just by himself.
He's going to. Where he really struggles is some of these weight classes are getting 6 matches. Blake's only going to get 3, so.
It's just going to be tough for Northmor to catch Elgin when we're giving up 2 weight classes. We entered 12 wrestlers. They've got all 14 wrestlers, all 14 weight classes filled. That's one of the things I love about wrestling are there's so many starters. At junior high wrestling, there's actually 15 weight classes. 15 starters for just 2 grades, 7 and 8. So almost everybody that comes out for the team is going to find a spot in the lineup. And in high school, it's pretty much the same way. There's 14 weight classes, not 5 starters. Don't misunderstand me. Blade Tackett's a very good friend of mine. He's actually my neighbor now. I love our basketball coach, but I just love wrestling. 14 weight classes.
Yeah, Coach, and then gets a little bit more competitive when you get to the college level. Not only do you drop down to 10 weight classes, but a lot of these weight classes where you were able to have 2 guys compete separately, heavyweight, for example. You start in junior high, you have a 205 weight class and a heavyweight weight class, which goes up to 245. At the high school level, you have 215, and you have a heavyweight, which goes up to 285. At the college level, there's a massive gap where you only have 1 heavyweight weight class in the 200s. That's taken a lot of these wrestlers that have competed 2 different styles and mixing them into one.
Well said.
Here again, we got Ashton Clark on mat 2. He'll face off against...
He's wrestling the Loudonville boy, Jacob Baker.
2 seniors going at it. Last chance to win a league title for these guys. Putting their best foot forward. Ashton controlling a tie there with a 2-on-1. A lot of times, a great defense is just being able to
lateral drop
control
right there.
The hands.
Lateral drop. Kicks him out. Again, 3 points for a takedown now, so think about it. 3-1, 3-1. So he's got another 3, another 1, so suddenly the score's 6-2.
Yeah, Ashton trying to get in shape for a deep run at a state championship here.
He's good enough to go to Columbus.
Yeah,
he's good enough to go to Columbus. He knows it.
He's wrestled a lot of good kids in the state.
He hasn't been there yet, but he'll be a state qualifier if he can get his head right in these next few weeks. It really is a mental game.
Yeah, Ashton's on that bubble of being a top 10 wrestler. He beat a couple kids in the top 10 earlier. One that comes to mind, Plymouth has a real good 215-pounder that'll be
that's a quick
at Ottermine
pin.
next year. See Ashton lacing the legs. Good job, Ashton Clark, getting a pin.
Not a bad job, Jacob Baker. He fought.
Yeah, sometimes you run into a buzzsaw, and Ashton Clark is a buzzsaw. Coach Carr, Coach Armros.
You ever notice since COVID, hardly anybody gets a handshake
Baker.
now. It's more of a knuckle roll since COVID.
Let's see who we got here. Is this 215 as well? Looks like Cardington and Elgin going at it. Great job getting in on the double leg there, climbing the body, keeping constant pressure.
On mat 1, they're already to the middleweights.
Yeah, these rounds 4 through 6 are going to be shorter. And again, like we addressed earlier, now without having to have a certain amount of time in between bouts, these matches are going to go quick.
And we don't plan here today to take time off before any one single round. Here
correct.
comes Nick Armrose. His parents both teach at Northmor. Good people.
As
I think we are going to take a short break.
it'll be a quick 10 to 15 intermission.
Oh, I don't think they're taking 15. The tournament demands a break, but not 15 minutes, is it?
I would hope not.
We're giving them whatever they need.
Yeah, whatever the tournament needs, we can again say thank you to these people that are running the tables and running the tournament.
Yeah, nobody here today is paid.
Yeah, without you guys, none of this happens. Nick Armrose with a good power half, getting that deep. See him lift the head here, trying to get the stick. Just constant pressure on his toes, using all 225.
That's it. It's over. Pin. Slap the mat.
His father, Coach Armrose, the head football coach there, in the corner celebrating his
Basketball
victory.
game or football game is going to go a certain amount of time. Baseball game is going to go so many innings. Wrestling, if you pin him, might be over in 15 seconds.
Now using mat 2, moving into these light middleweights. So, Coach, how long has it been now since you've been out of the chair? When was the last time you were in the chair coaching?
I love to talk about tomorrow, not yesteryear. But to answer your question, I worked at Northmor 40 years and have been retired now 9. I'd do it again if I were a young man, but I'd rather talk about tomorrow. God has blessed me with good health. I'm very fortunate to still be active and helping a little bit with the grade school program. I won't be at the tournament tomorrow, but I did help with some grade school practices this year, and am happy to do things like this when they need me.
Now, as we're watching these matches, at the bottom of mat 1, you see some coaches recording on a tablet. How great is just technology to be able to go back and show these kids? No longer is it mom or dad's handheld camera that we have to go back and watch, but these kids actually have the opportunity to review most of their matches. They didn't have tablets when you gave up coaching, correct, Coach?
No, I encourage every wrestler here to review their matches on tape, review it with someone who can help you as well. Point out what you've done right, what you may need to do better.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy when a kid goes out there and gets a quick pin, but as a coach, you want to point out the mistakes and the things that they can fine-tune.
Coaches are teachers.
They are.
Coaches are teachers.
Quick.
The good Lord gave us all different talents. Coaches are teachers.
Quick run through of some basic wrestling knowledge. Each match is a 3-period bout with
2-2-2.
2-2-2, 2 minutes matches.
Collegiately 3-2-2.
Now, in a lot of tournament-style matches, the consolation rounds will be cut to 1 minute. Here, wrestling round robins, it'll be a 2-minute period.
You know, that's a good point. Because there's no consolation bouts here today, there are no.
Yep, no
There are no,
consolations,
yeah.
1 minute first period. Now, at the beginning of the second period, they'll flip a disc, deciding between the green or red anklet wrestler. That wrestler will then get to decide whether they would like to start the second period neutral, on top, on bottom, or they can defer to their opponent and let their opponent decide, giving them the option in the third period. If the match ends in a tie after the third period, it'll go to a sudden death takedown. If a wrestler starting on their feet, if the wrestler gets the takedown, they win. So,
Haven't seen an overtime match yet today.
No, I don't believe we have.
Boy, as we get to the final round, we might.
There's, again, 2 of those matches, the finals at 126 and 144 are going to be outstanding. It's all mat stoppage there by the official.
I see tablets out there right now.
One thing that I'm seeing from a lot of these schools, coaches, the wrestlers, as they get in position, they're doing a great job hand fighting. I think that's something that the KMAC, all the teams in the KMAC do a phenomenal job controlling the wrist, controlling the 2-on-1. It's a great defense if you struggle with leg defense and you're a younger wrestler. Go back and watch a lot of these bouts at the KMAC. You're going to see wrestlers that just control the wrist. If you're unable to get both hands in on a shot.
If there's a young wrestler here watching this today, or maybe a dad who's trying to teach his son a little bit more about wrestling, hand fighting is very much part of battling for position. And that's what wrestling is all about. Position, position, position. We talked about low hips when you're on your feet, high hips when you're on the mat, but hand fighting for position. And along those lines, hand strength, grip strength. Get your wrestler one of those hand grips and have him pump out 50 or 60 on a hand grip daily. Hand strength.
A wise man once told me, strength makes technique work.
Strength makes technique work.
That was you.
I know.
If you want to become a good wrestler, it is not something that just happens overnight. A lot of these guys put the hours upon hours into perfecting their craft and trying to get better.
Strength does make technique work.
Wrestling is a sport where you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
I like that, don't you?
I do. A lot of times you can want to be a 100-meter dash champion all you want, but if you don't have the God-given talent and ability, it might not be an attainable goal. Wrestling is something that if you want to put the time in, you want to put the work in, you want to go and do the countless hours of training, you're going to be good.
I had a middle-aged athlete, I won't tell you the name, good at every sport he ever played, tell me the proudest moment in sports for him was when the referee raised his hand in a wrestling match. I mean, he won football games, he won this, he was good at baseball, but when the referee raises your hand in a wrestling match, that's a special moment.
It is, and wrestling is a team sport. We're seeing these 10 teams try and compete for a team title here, but it's also very much an individual sport. There's nobody that can block for you, that can come in and set a pick for you. In wrestling, it's you and the guy across from you. You're either going to win or you're going to lose, and a lot of that comes down to heart. Well, a lot of these guys here in the KMAC have it. They're fighting against each other today, competing against each other, but you see them go into a lot of these other leagues in these other tournaments and just handily get victories. That's not the case today. Today's high competition against extremely well-trained athletes.
Elgin's won tournaments this year. Northmor's won tournaments this year. But there's just something special about winning your league tournament. I'm going to have to visit that Elgin gym one day and see what kind of a banner they put on their wall when they're not really in the KMAC, sport in, sport out. Are they putting a banner up there that they've won our tournament so many years in a row now?
They put a different color banner, even though they're not in it?
Because we don't go to Elgin for basketball games anymore or any kind of reason to drive over. We'll have to drive over and see what they have.
Yeah. I'm going to have you guys call this.
Call this bout over here. All right, so
The final match of round 3.
We've got after this one, there will be a slight intermission. We've got a good bout here. You'd like to see the Mount Gilead wrestler work up to a base.
This might be about round 4. I said round 3. This is.
Oh, this is, yeah.
I think this is the final. I think this is round 4.
Running that tight wing there. Great job by Centerburg. A lot of wrestlers don't understand. Once you put a wing in and you catch that wrist, he's not coming off the hips as much. He's got a boot in. He's able to control the bottom wrestler because he's controlling his hips. Now, a lot of times you're going to see officials, if you don't come off the hips, hit them for stalling. But if you're working a move, as you're able to allude to when you have the boot in, when you have a wing in, you can kind of stay on the hips and eat up some time. It seems to be what we had here. All right, this wraps us up with round 4. Sounds like we'll be taking a small intermission, and then we'll get those updated team scores to you before we do that. That way we let you guys know going into round 5 how close it's looking.
Zach, the grandmas want to hear their grandsons' names. Give us a couple names that are going up here on mat 2.
Oh, looks like we're rolling right into this. Would you say that's 120, Coach? The Danville wrestler could be...
We're not giving enough names.
Looks like we have Camden Horn, if this is at 113, which I believe it to be. Would you say, Coach? Cameron Horn from Danville. He's the 4 seed, a freshman.
You're right.
And who do we got him wrestling there, Coach? We're in round 5. Looks like it's Fredericktown's Gavin Galbraith, a sophomore from Fredericktown.
That's right.
So freshman and sophomore going at it.
And what round?
This is the end of round 4. So this should be the last one. Everything above this there were not enough kids that would need the match. I don't know if they circled back to this. Seems like we should have had this bout a while ago. But
yeah, I don't know why this bout didn't get wrestled earlier, but
Horn, a good young freshman from Danville, got the 4 seed. Gavin Galbraith, the sophomore from Fredericktown, the 5 seed. So very extremely close competitive match.
takedown, 3 points.
Now you'd like to see Galbraith going inside the leg there, reaching back for the leg, not as effective either on an inside switch
He's young.
or just let go of it, come to your feet, get your 1.
He's toeing the lines. He's out. I admire him.
Yeah.
I admire any young man that toes that line.
Galbraith started with the first takedown. Horn got a quick escape and then was able to get that takedown, making it 4-3 as we wind down this first period, about 10 seconds left. Good sense of urgency there by Galbraith.
As we get into rounds 5, 6, and definitely 7, and we know who's wrestling who, we should try and give more names.
Great awareness by Galbraith. Got the quick escape. Horn tried to capitalize with 10 seconds left, get in on a takedown. He kept his composure, rolled him through, and got a quick takedown. Didn't get the back points, but a quick 4-point swing for Gavin. He was losing with 10 seconds left. Now he's up 7-4. That's an outstanding awareness by the young sophomore.
Easier to broadcast this when there's just one match out there that we know who's wrestling. As they've gone round robin with different numbers in different weight classes, it's confusing to watch for the fans in the stands and for even us. They're not announcing who's going what.
Horn getting in on a shot, keeping his hips tight. Galbraith trying to throw him, but you'd like to see just more basic leg defense from these younger guys. Sprawl, head pressure, get your leg back. A lot of times they try and hit that home run and it doesn't pay off, but when you're swinging for the fences like that, you're going to give up takedowns, and that's what we saw here by the young Galbraith.
I like you're giving the names, is what I'm trying to say. We're going to try and do that more often in round 5, 6. Definitely in round 7, we should know who's wrestling who.
Camden kicks him, making the score 7-8.
Rounds 5 and 6 is pretty much going to be the same, though, with different numbers in different weight classes, quick rounds.
Yep.
Round 7 will be the money round.
Same situation again. Gavin trying to do a home run roll. He didn't need it, making the score 10-8. He kicks him again, kind of capitalizing off what Gavin does. That time Gavin gets the roll, but you'd like to see him get away from that, focus more primarily on just staying in a good stance. A lot of leg defenses not letting them touch your leg.
Oh, nice shot, huh?
Great shot by
Didn't
Horn.
finish.
Oh,
Didn't finish. Just didn't finish, but he turned in.
He did. Gavin tried to catch him on his back again. Didn't let him turn and face.
Yeah, that was not an escape.
Camden trying to capitalize on it.
Score is 17-8 right now. You need a 15-point swing to get a technical
good
fall.
Good reversal there by
15 points
by Gavin.
ends the match. 15-point swing.
Gavin got the reversal.
17 to 10.
Sitting on 2 back points. Short time. He needs to hold it here. He gives up the reversal. A lot of young mistakes from this freshman and sophomore.
Now it's 17-12, 17-13.
Prime example of a young
19-12.
mistake, giving up an
Holy
escape
mackerel.
with 3 seconds left.
Scores 19-13. A lot of points in this match.
Coach, I'm seeing a lot of offense, but I'm going to venture to say as these guys are getting gassed, we might see a pin the next time one of them goes to their back.
It's third period, 2 minutes left. You got to admire them. They're not backing down.
Camden waiting on
Young
Gavin to shoot.
You know what?
Capitalize.
These are young
deep.
athletes who are going to get a varsity letter. God bless them. Take down 3 points, 22-13.
He's got a 9-point lead.
He's kicking him.
See, I find that odd there. I know you got a 9-point lead, but you would think you'd want to try and work him on a turn. A couple times, Gavin's been able to put Camden on his back on these deep shots. Kind of a risk to kick him again with 1:14 left. All right, deep on the shot. Gavin locks up the front headlock. Is he able to keep it?
No.
Cam's going to climb the body here, get the takedown. Gavin just gets his hips up. You notice on the mat, high hips win.
25-14.
Gets the reversal.
He got out of position.
Still a 9-point match.
25-16.
10-point match. 5 more would make it a tech fall if Cam's able to put him on his back or get 2 takedowns. All right, now he's short time. Gavin's only got about 20 seconds. If he's gonna put him on his back, he's got to try and get it here. The young sophomore
3.
gives up the takedown.
He's going to get a major decision. A major decision for those novices out there is any spread between 8 and 14. A technical fall is 15 or more. So he had a 13-point swing, right?
Nope, 16.
16?
He gave him 3 back points at the end. He got the tech fall.
He got the back points at the end. Okay, so a 16, that was a tech fall then. Worth an additional 2 points advancement and 1.5 more points. So I think we're going to send this off to Berardi.
Actually, I'm going to take over just for a little bit here and let you guys step away.
Our
We've had
producer,
ourselves
Adam.
a fantastic start to the KMAC wrestling tournament. The event itself is going to give all of the athletes and organizers, coaches, broadcasters about 10 to 15 minutes to stretch, hydrate, get a bite to eat, check on scores, go over some things. So we are going to step away, take a commercial break of promotions. We will be back. We will check in on the MOAC updates, the KMAC team scores, and so much more live and free from Northmor High School, the Castle as we call it. And don't go anywhere because we've got some finalists when we come back.
Hi, I'm Joe Baylog. Tune into The Joe Show every Wednesday night here on the OH Report. I'm Joe Baylog. Tune into the Joe Show every Wednesday night here on the OH Report.
Hey, Joe.
You're late.
Ever since Joe joined our crew, everybody's really been paying attention to all the little details. The meeting doesn't start for 5 minutes.
Not without a warm-up. You got to get better every day when you're in here. Now let's get after it. That's better. All right.
Yes, Coach.
Pick up the pace. Let's pick up the pace and keep working here. All right?
Having a Hall of Fame coach around really has helped our crew with time management.
24-second violation.
Joe, it always takes a minute.
Take a lap.
Hey, Travis.
What's up, Ski?
Hey, there's something on the copier. You go grab that for me?
Sure. Yeah, I
Thanks,
got
bud.
you. Man, guy can't do anything for himself. So lazy. Unbelievable.
What is that?
What's going
That's
on
a
here?
technical foul. You don't talk back to an official like that.
Wait, who's the rep? What's going?
Hey, I don't want any more lip. Get out of here and run some laps. Now go.
Okay.
Move it.
Jeez.
There's no letdown. Every day you got to get a little bit better. So let's get after it. All right. Let's have a break here. On 3, OH report.
Doing this.
3. Ever since Joe's joined the team, our setup has gotten a lot faster. And I've been able to cancel my gym membership.
Dude, why are you checking the mic like that?
Joe's here today, and I'm not getting another 3-second call in the paint.
Huh?
Come on, Ryan. Let's pick up the pace a little bit. That's better. That's better. Adam, that's good. That's really good, Adam. That's really good. No. Don't lose the dribble. Berardi. What is that kind of a dribble is that? I mean, that's the slowest dribble I've ever seen. Come on. We got to work harder at this. We got to get after it, fellas. All right, you guys take a break. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Keep working, Travis. You might make the JV team. I don't know. 1, 2, 3. OH report. Hi, I'm Joe Baylor.